Hello everyone, my name's Paul Moyer. I'm a fruit grower from Ontario, Canada, in the Niagara Peninsula area. We've been growing fruit in the Niagara area for now over 100 years. We've been farming the same land since the 1790s. I'm the 9th generation on the fruit farm. And I just kind of want to give you the story about how food safety has sort of affected us and what we've gone ahead and tried to do in that world. Myself and my family, we grow tender fruit, cherries, peaches, pears, plums, that sort of thing, as well as apples. Over the years in that industry, in order for us to kind of stay competitive and so on, we've done a lot of value added. We have U-pick operation. We go to a lot of farmers markets, direct sales. Some of that, what we did with our apples is some of the apples that didn't have the perfect color and so on, we started to get into the caramel apple business as a value added product. We started in a very small way, and it sort of progressed a little bit. And in 1990, we started to do some candy apples and caramel apples for Toronto Blue Jays and the Buffalo Bills and that sort of thing. About 8 years ago, we went on to a television show very similar to Shark Tank up for Canada. We explained how our caramel apple business doesn't seem to be working. I'll just explain it here. We went on to the Shark Tank. We said you could buy our caramel apples at these smaller stores, some of which was a national chain. The day after that television show aired, the national chain called me up. The buyer called me up and said, "We've got a lot of response. We're going to have to buy your apples nationally." So that was a good problem for me to have. What happened was we had a large demand. That large demand meant we had to get a larger facility, and in that larger facility, we had to get SQF, food safety, and that sort of thing. So we spent a lot of money, built a large facility. We were very excited about the process. We were the first company to get SQF in the caramel apple business. We wanted to be very proactive. And in 2015, there was a listeria outbreak in the caramel apple industry. So our sales were just ramping up. We had just spent a lot of money in order to meet the demand. And 2015, there was the caramel apple listeria outbreak just before Christmas time. The caramel apples actually were, like we were saying, they were produced in the fall, September, October, and this situation came out just before Christmas time. We were doing kind of a gourmet large apple. We just got them into a couple of the chains, and I was watching 4 days before Christmas, 2015. I was watching CNN, and on came CNN, picture of my caramel apples, and the thing across the TV said, "These will kill you." And I had approximately $1 million worth of caramel apples into different chains across the United States and Canada, and that was the news that came out. As it turns out, it wasn't our caramel apples, but that doesn't matter. They actually had a picture of my caramel apple on the national news. What happened was there was a large recall. Everybody that carried caramel apples across the country took them off, and the next day, Publix, a number of the different chains, called me up and said, "We've taken your caramel apples off the shelf, so I guess we're not going to pay you for them." And we're in this situation, and we didn't know, and nobody knew where the outbreak was coming from, but it certainly caused me great panic. The day after that, the banks called me and they said, "Oh, we heard you're not going to be getting paid for your caramel apples, and you've got all this money loaned out for your new facilities and so on. So you can see where the panic sort of starts. And it not only hurt us clearly, but it hurt the whole industry. So what we started to do was we thought maybe there's an opportunity to clean caramel apples, and if we can do this, clean the apple before we make them into caramel apples, maybe if we can do this, we can A, gain acceptance with the industry, sell a few more caramel apples, and maybe be able to save this. So actually, out of a very real problem, we started to work towards a very real solution. What we have here, what we did was we started to work with a science-based solution. Because we work with caramel, because we work with chocolate, I wanted to stay away from water. Water, I found, was often more of a vector for pathogens than it was a solution for pathogens. So I tried to see if there was a way of getting away from a water-based solution for cleaning the fruit and vegetables. So we actually came up with two processes, and over the last 3.5, 4 years, we're working with science-based Dr. Warner and his team. There's four doctors up there. We came up with two solutions. On the right, we have a solution where we pass high amounts of ozone gas through bins of apples. We blow the ozone in through the top. The apples are in bins. It cleans both the bins and the apples because it's volatile, turbulent ozone going through. It gets pushed through the top of the bins and eventually down to the bottom of the bins, and then goes through a scrubber and then out. The other process that we started to use is the one on the left, where we actually combine UV light, ozone gas, hydrogen peroxide vapor at a specific temperature to help eliminate pathogens. The first solution there, we get with the ozone batch system, we get between a 2.5 to 4 log pathogen reduction on, we've been actually using lactobacillus as a surrogate for listeria, E. coli, salmonella, as well as we use lactobacillus on what we are using. Essentially, it's an advanced oxidative process mixing the UV light, ozone, and hydrogen peroxide. When we realized it worked pretty well on the caramel apple industry, we started to say, hey, I wonder if that works on my peaches. I wonder if that works on my cherries. I wonder if that works on different fruits and vegetables. So since that, over the years, we've been working with avocados, peaches, lemons, cucumbers, zucchinis, cabbage, peppers, a number of different fruits and vegetables. And we've also tested the things on the right there, including corn, chocolate, and some dry goods like raisins. You know, it's very difficult. How do you take a raisin that's been dried and clean a raisin? So we've been working on some of those things. It's taken us this long, about 4 years, to kind of get this technology out into the industry because we, like I said, we wanted to get a lot of science behind it. We have 3 papers that have been published. We've got about another 7 papers that are going to be coming out to be published very soon. And we're very comfortable now going to the companies that buy our caramel apples and explain what we're doing. The interesting thing is when you have a solution or a perceived solution with scientific data behind it, the buyers who are very, very keen on this take the technology and then because of the science behind it, they buy into it and they say, this is the difference between you and your competition, and has actually increased our caramel apple sales tremendously. We have, over the last 3 years, increased our caramel apple sales approximately 7 times, and we're gaining acceptance from a lot of the major retailers, from Publix, Costco, Walmart, and so on. So we've been using this technology in order to make the caramel apple industry safer, certainly our own sales. And we've found that it works on a lot of different produce, including now we've been testing on shredded romaine for bagged salads, and all sorts of cucumbers and that sort of thing. We've been just started to be able to produce a little bit of this equipment. Mostly it came out of we need a solution so we can increase our caramel apple sales. The unit that we have here on the right-hand side, that's what we have in our caramel apple facility. And we do approximately, a little bit over 1,000 cases a day on the caramel apples. It could probably triple that right to a large unit. This one is in the trial stages at Sunkist on lemons, and they do up to 75,000 bushels of lemons a day through this process. So we're pretty excited. As a grower, I'm excited to do this because I'm concerned that if we don't meet this head on, people are going to start to say apples or cucumbers or carrots are unsafe, and let's go buy a Twinkie. You go into a 7-Eleven. I went into a 7-Eleven the other day, last year with the owner of Domex Superfresh, and he was a large apple producer. And he said, hey, look, there's my apples. And underneath the apples it said, please wash your produce before eating it. So if you're a mother of 3 children and you wanted to buy 3 or 4 apples, I highly doubt that somebody's going to walk into a 7-Eleven, go into the washroom, rinse the apples off at the 7-Eleven, and then go out and give them to their kids. They're far more likely to say, let's just grab a Snickers bar or something. And it doesn't make sense to me that we know it's safer to eat an apple. Not safer, we know it's better for you to eat an apple than to go out and eat highly processed sugar and so on, that people aren't thinking there might be an issue with it. So that's sort of what's motivating me to move forward in some of these technologies, because I believe in produce. I believe in doing what we can when we run into a problem. Okay, we run into a problem. Let's take that problem and look at it head on. Why did I look at a different way of cleaning produce instead of necessarily using water and chlorine and so on? There's a quote that I like. It said, the electric light bulb was not invented by the continuous improvement of candles. So sometimes if we look at things a little bit of a different way, we can come up with some pretty great results. And we looked at getting rid of water and trying to clean on a microbiological level, and we seem to be getting some really good results with that. So that's a unit. You can sort of see the flow through what's going on there. They move a lot of product through. We like it because, as Keith had mentioned, sometimes things work at the laboratory level, and then they don't often work right at the producer level or the larger volumes. And we seem to be getting pretty good results with that. So we're pretty excited about how that's moving forward. We're able to get inside, do the cleaning. We know everybody's HACCP and SQF and that sort of thing are becoming quite important with that. That's a unit that we are currently working on getting out to the grape industry here in California to clean grapes for Starbucks, so that they can have some sort of an intervention step so that they can go to ready to eat. And with that same technology, I like to sort of scratch my head and so on. We ship a lot of caramel apples across the country, and often the truck will come in, it'll have contaminated from soil, from plants, or potentially a meat product that has come in and the trucks are dirty. We're now working on a system that sanitizes the trucks, the walls of the trucks, the floor and the sock of the truck, using that advanced advanced process. So that's sort of where we're looking forward in some of that. You know, the whole process is good agricultural neighbors. And that's what we're talking about here today. It's really important to remember that your neighbor doesn't necessarily have to be just next door. You know, I buy apples from California now. When it's not my season, I'm buying California apples. And now I'm actually shipping apples, those same apples that are coming from one of your neighbors are coming to me, and then I might be shipping it back to California or out to New York City or whatever. But what you do affects me, and what I do affects you. So if I have something that I'm not doing properly at my end, or I'm not washing my floors properly, or I'm not cleaning my line properly, that could affect a grower over here because it goes back to them. So it's really important that we all realize in this world now, we're all neighbors, and the fact that we've all are affecting each other in some fashion, it's important that we all look to do the right thing, and it's not just affecting my bottom line anymore. I'm pretty passionate about trying to do the right thing for the produce industry, and I think we all are. We're very testament to the fact that here we are in this meeting, having these meetings, that people find this important, and it's important to all of us. And I just wanted to say that's what we're doing up in Canada as sort of an intervention step, and we're pretty excited about the results that we're getting on the AOP process. We're getting results between 3 and 7 log kill, depending on the produce. 3.5 log kill on cucumbers, up to over 5 log kill on lemons, and so on. Those that don't know, 1 log is 90%-ish. 2 logs is 99%. It would be 90% of the 90%, and so on. So we're seeing this. This has been working pretty well for us up in Canada, and I just kind of wanted to explain what we're doing, and the fact that by doing it, we are getting the retail customers very excited about what's going on in the food safety, and it's actually gaining us market share. So that's where that sort of come, and it's worked really well for us.